Hi, this is Trevor Dunn. You're listening/watching to Bassface TV. I played clarinet originally, and then my older brother, started playing guitar and started bringing on Kiss records and Blondie and Ted Nugent. And then for some, I don't really know why, but I decided I want to play bass. And I think it was because my brother played guitar, even though I didn't really understand the difference at that point. So I got a bass for Christmas when I was like 13 and started taking lessons, and I just really got into it. I had a great first teacher. He was a guitar player, and he basically our lessons would consist of him, teaching me bass lines and the blues and stuff, and then I would just play and he would jam, and which I thought, looking back at that now, it's like it was really kind of important, And he also had a guitar student whose brother was a drummer, so he hooked us up. So within like the first month of taking lessons, I was in a band with these guys, and I played with them for quite a while. For a few years, we had a band, and actually that band sort of like morphed into another band, and which is how at some point we needed a new singer, and then I met Mike Patton, and we went to high school together, and so I asked him to join that band, and then we've been making music ever since together. So, but yeah, I stopped playing clarinet. I still have my clarinet, and every once in a while I bust it out, and I'm actually surprised that I can still sort of read clarinet music, like I haven't lost that muscle memory, which is pretty amazing, So,
yeah.
I mean, I can't really play, but it's still fun to make some noise on it. My first teachers immediately started giving me cassette tapes of all kinds of bass players. Jocko was one of my first heroes, of course. Larry Graham. One of the tapes I had was a bunch of stuff that wasn't labeled. I never knew what it was till later, but it turns out it was Sly Stone and Rusty Allen and Bobby Vega, who are two of my favorite bass players. I'm really into the Sly Stone stuff with those guys, and like the record Fresh or High on You, really some of my favorite bass lines on that stuff. Had, thinking back to my first teacher, and then I had another teacher after him that was also great, who was a bass player, and then in high school when I started playing in the stage band in high school, I had a great teacher then too. So those were all really important, thinking about those guys and thinking about the positive reinforcement that they gave me, and making me excited about music, so those early years were definitely, still retain a lot of the inspiration from that. One of those teachers was a guy who started giving me all those Carol Kay books. And I had no idea who she was, and then later in life, I'm getting into Pet Sounds. Should I wait? But yeah, later, I started checking out Pet Sounds and all these records that she's on, and Jackson 5 stuff. And man, those are just really great bass playing. It's funny. In high school, I was considering going to Berklee College of Music, but I was from a small town. I didn't want to leave, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and so I decided I'm just going to go to this state college and figure it out. And I walked in, and they're like, "Okay, here's a bow and some rosin." I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I hadn't really played upright before that. And then I really got into it. I got into classical technique and 20th century composers and writing music myself, and so that was a good experience. I mean, it wasn't a great music school, but I definitely got something out of it. So, and then from there I moved to San Francisco and started playing a lot of jazz, playing a lot of weddings and restaurants. And but actually, Mr. Bungle was active at that time, but also kind of sporadically. So when we weren't touring, I was on the scene in San Francisco.
Do you like teaching? Or?
I'm not a very good teacher. Yeah. Which I don't know why, because I had great teachers, but for some reason I do teach, and I'll give people like lessons, usually, a couple lessons, but I don't really do regular teaching. I don't know why, I just don't have that. I've realized teaching that it's a whole other thing. Like, you gotta have the right talent and mindset just to do that.
Yeah,
so and usually, like, I've had students be like, I've been playing bass for a while and I do this kind of weird technique, and which is completely wrong. And I'm like, well, if it works for you, it doesn't sound bad as long as you're not hurting yourself, Maybe you just invented something incredible. So I don't try to. I'm not much of a disciplinary, I guess. I don't know, there's definitely, like, for classical technique, I think there's definitely some great books. Frederick Zimmerman's contemporary concept of bowing, for the contrabass, it's called, is really kind of minutia of bowing, and if you're into, like, contemporary stuff, Bert Turetsky's book, Contemporary Contrabass, it's like a lexicon of modern, kind of extended technique for upright bass.